Hello. This lesson is all about solving quadratic equation. As we all know, quadratic equation is in the form of ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. In solving quadratic equations, there are four ways in which to solve for x or any variable in the given equation. First, we have by square roots, by factoring, by completing the square, and by the quadratic formula. First, we have by square root. The first one is by square roots. One of the easiest case is if in the quadratic equation, there is no bx or the linear term appearing. If this is the case, all the needs to be done is number one is to isolate the x term on one side of the equation, then square root both sides, then remember the plus and minus sign. Paano ba yon? Ito yon. Example, x squared minus 16 equals 0. As you can see in the given example, there is no bx. Wala siyang number and x. Wala siyang linear term. Anong gagawin natin? Anong sinabi kanina? Let us isolate the term x or the x term. Dito sa example, x squared minus 16, ito yon. Bakit po tayo nag-add ng 16? This is to eliminate the value or this 16 or negative 16. Kailangan natin ng mag-add ng 16 para ito'y maging 0 na. At dito sa kabila ay maging 16. Or just transpose negative 16 on the other side. Kaya siya'y magiging x squared is equal to 16. Then, square root both sides. Put a radical sign on both sides of the equation, then solve for the value of x. We have square root of x squared is equal to square root of 16. And, okay, the answer is x is equal to plus, minus 4, or positive, negative 4. Always remember that in a radical sign or in a square root, tatandaan ninyo na kapag siya'y sinolve natin, laging ang sagot ay may plus, minus, or positive, negative, then yung answer natin. Okay? The next one is by factoring. Factoring ang sunod. Given this equation, x squared minus x minus 6 equals 0, this will factor nicely. Paano ba yon? Ganito yon. First is to determine the numbers that multiply together to be equal to negative 6. Or sa madalit sabi, ano ang factor ng negative 6 or the constant term? Nakasulat dito, we have negative 6 is equal to negative 2 times 3 or 2 times negative 3. Ano pa? We have 6 times negative 1 or negative 6 times 1. Dito sa mga factor na ito, alin kaya dito ang may value na middle term which is negative 1? Yan. Now, at the sum of each of these pairs of numbers, if one pair is equal to negative 1, and that is the value of b, those are the numbers used to factor the expression. Yun. Try natin negative 2 plus 3 is positive 1. Hindi ito pwedeng gamitin. We have 6 minus 1 is 5, kaya hindi din siya pwedeng gamitin. At we have negative 6 plus 1 is equal to negative 5. Hindi pwede. Ito class na kabox na to, ito yung pwede natin gamitin kasi 2 minus 3 is negative 1, and that is the value of our b, negative 1. So, therefore, ang gagamitin nating factor ay si 2 at si negative 3. Ito yon. So, having identified our factors, we have write the above expression as x minus 2 and x minus negative 3 is equal to 0. Or we have x minus 2 times the quantity of x plus 3 is equal to 0. Then, we have x is equal to 2 and x is equal to negative 3. So next is by completing the square. So the third method is called the completing the square. So in this method, in the given form, make all the terms containing x appear on one side of the equation and all the other terms thus not containing x appear on the other side. Then next, identify the bx term in your equation and add b over 2 quantity squared to both sides of the equation. Then after this point, the side containing the x term will factor as x plus b over 2 quantity squared. Then to finish the problem, square root both sides of the subsequently solve for x. Paano kaya yon? So, ganito yon. Ito yung sample natin. X squared minus 12x minus 28 equals 0. So, we can try and factor this. Oo, pwede natin itong gamitan ng factoring. Pero, we are going to try to use completing the square method. Bakit kaya itong gamitan ng factoring? Kasi yung negative 28, ang factor nito na pag pinag-add or subtract, ang sagot ay negative 12 ay 14 times 2. Yung negative 14 at saka positive 2. Kasi pag pinag-times silang dalawa, ang sagot ay negative 28. At pag pinag-subtract mo yon, yung negative 14, or pinag-add negative 14 plus 2, the answer is negative 12. Kaya pwede siya sa factoring. Pero let's try if the completing the square, ang magiging sagot ay parehas. 12 at 2 kasi ang factor nito. Okay, try natin. So, the first move is, we move the x term on the other side of the equation. So, i-isolate natin yung may x. Ang may x natin dito ay yung x squared at saka yung negative 12x. So, ito ang lalabas dyan. Parang inilipat lang yung negative 28, ililipat mo sa kabila, magiging positive 28. So, magiging x squared minus 12x is equal to positive 28. Then, ang sunod natin gagawin ay, we determine our b value and compute. So, ang b value natin ay magiging b over 2 quantity squared. So, ang value ng b natin ay negative 12. Substitute natin, we have negative 12 divided by 2 is equal to negative 6. Quantity squared is equal to, so yung negative 6 squared, ang ibig sabihin ng negative 6 times negative 6, ang sagot ay positive 36. So, yun ang ilalagay natin sa ating third term. So, magiging x squared minus 12x plus 36 is equal to 28 plus 36. Bakit parehas nating nilagyan ng add na 36? Kasi kung anong gagawin natin dito sa side na to, the same with dito sa kabila para maging balance ang ating equation. Okay, then solve. We have x squared minus 12x plus 36 is equal to 64. And that's it. Then, so ito na yung equation natin. After this, the left side of the equation will factor as x minus b over 2 quantity squared or the square of binomial. Since ang mabubuo natin dito palagi, dito sa ating may x term, ay ang perfect square trinomial. So, kung ano yung ginamit nating b, yung negative b over 2, yun yung ating ilalagay. Diba ang sagot kanina sa negative b over 2 ay negative 6? Okay, yun ang ilalagay natin. X minus 6 quantity squared is equal to 64. And then, we have to factor. Ito yung huli. Lastly, finish solving for x using square roots and other basic algebra skill. So, ito. Put a radical sign on both sides of the equation. Babalik tayo sa number 1. Yung number 1 natin, square roots. So, yun. Meron ditong parenthesis. Napawi lang. So, square root of x minus 6 quantity squared is equal to square root of 64. So, we have x minus 6 is equal to positive, negative, 8 because ang 64 natin ay square root of 64 is positive, negative, 8. So, x minus 6 plus 6 is equal to plus minus 8 plus 6. Okay, so magiging dalawang equation natin. Bakit? Kasi dahil nitong positive at negative 8 natin. Kasi ito matatagtag na. So, dito ay 0. So, x is equal to 8 plus 6 or x is equal to negative 8 plus 6. So, anong mangyayari na? Magkakaroon tayo ng value. So, x is equal to 8 plus 6 is 14 at x is equal to negative 8 plus 6 is equal to negative 2. So, ito yung sinasabi ko sa inyo kanina. Same din siya sa factoring. Kaya lang ang ginamit nating method ngayon ay completing the square. So, sa exam naman, lagi niyong tatandaan, basta makuha ninyo ang value, kahit anong gamitin ninyong method, ay same din naman ang magiging sagot, edi nasa sa inyo kung anong gagamitin ninyo. Pero pwede din natin gamitin itong completing the square. And same answer pa din ang ating makukuha. Okay? And then next, we have by quadratic formula. So a fourth method and one that will always work is the quadratic formula. So ibig sabihin, ang sa lahat ng given equation, applicable na gamitin natin kapag hindi siya okay sa factoring, hindi din siya okay sa completing the square kasi medyo complex ang ating equation at lalong hindi siya pwede sa square roots or ano nga yun, completing the square at saka extracting the square root. Pwede nyo nang gamitin itong last method, which is the quadratic formula. Pwede siya sa lahat ng equation. This method comes out of completing the square. So, we have determining A, B, and C in your quadratic equation. So, yon, kailangan itong una natin gawin. Dapat daw ay siya'y quadratic equation muna pala sa standard form. Then, hahanapin mo, kailangan naka-standard form siya. Tapos, hahanapin mo ang value ng A, B, at C. Then, substitute the appropriate values into the following formula and simplify to obtain your solution. So, paano ba yon? So, ito na yon. So, number 1, ito muna. Yung equation natin, example, x squared minus 7x plus 9 equals 0. So, pwede siyang gamitan ng completing the square at pwede kaya ditong factoring. Hindi siya pwede sa factoring kasi ang factor ng 9 ay 1 times 9. Pag pinag-subtract, 8. Hindi siya pwede. 3 times 3, 6. So, hindi siya pwede sa factoring. Sa completing the square, pwede siya. Pero, try natin gamitin ang quadratic formula. So, quadratic formula is going to be used to determine the value of x. Okay, try natin. So, first, we need to identify the value of A, B, and C. So, ang A natin ay 1, ang B natin ay -7, at ang C natin ay 9. Make sure na ito ay naka-standard form. Ito ay naka-standard form na, which is ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. Okay. Then, after we have the value of A, B, and C, proceed tayo sa substitution. Kung kailangan nating i-substitute ang value sa ating formula. So, we have x. Ano ba yung formula natin? X equals to negative b plus minus square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. So, we have negative times the quantity of -7 plus minus square root of the quantity of -7 quantity squared minus 4 times 1 times 9 all over 2 times 1. So, substitute, solve. So, -7 times 7, and -1 times -7 is +7, plus minus square root of 49 minus 36 over 2 is equal to 7 plus minus square root of 13 over 2. So, in this case, class, plus minus, paghihiwalayin lang natin isang plus at isang minus, and this is the value of x. So, thank you for watching, and those are the 4 methods in solving quadratic equation. Thank you.